Hello, I'm back. My name is Marcus Green. I am a licensed agent based here in Ohio. I am back with another installment on Medicare. Today I will be talking a little bit about the prescription drug program, which is also known as Part D. Within that program, there is what's called the coverage gap or the donut hole. It could be very detrimental for seniors from a cost standpoint, and if you're new to Medicare, it can be very, very confusing. So if you have questions, you can always reach me at 216-644-8043. I have a new email address. That's healthproconsultants@gmail.com, and I'm also on Twitter at Mark M. Green. So let's talk a little bit about the donut hole or the coverage gap. And for those of you who have a Part D program, you probably know all about this. And if you're a baby boomer or a senior or Medicare beneficiary, you may have probably spoken to or may have known someone who's actually fell into the donut hole. Okay, so the way the program works is that there are what are called drug payment stages. And so every Part D program from insurance company to insurance company is pretty much the same, okay, except for the co-pays and the formularies. And so the Social Security, who actually administers the Part D program, wanted to make this very simple for people to understand. However, it could be very tricky. And so what happens is that everyone is allotted a drug cost of $2,960 for the year, okay? That number actually is going to increase, which means that the donut hole will constrict over time. And so a part of the Affordable Care Act is that the donut hole will be, I won't say 100% fully closed, but I would say maybe 85 to 95% closed by the year 2020. Guess what? It's 2015, so we still have a long way to go before that dreaded donut hole is closed. And so the way the program works is that you start out in your initial coverage stage. Everyone's allotted for 2015, $2,960. Okay, and so what can be tricky or confusing to seniors is that, or people who are Medicare eligible, is that we're traditionally used to filling the prescription, and there's some type of copay attached to whether it's a generic drug or a name brand drug, or it could be some specialty drug. And then specialty drugs tend to have higher copays. So every time you go to use your prescription drug ID card or fill a prescription, the cost of the drug goes towards that $2,960. So it's not the copay, but it's the actual cost of the drug. So if you're taking a name brand drug or a specialty drug that has a very high retail cost without insurance, then you could actually get to the $2,960 fairly quickly. For example, if a person is diabetic and they're taking insulin, just to let you know, my average client who is diabetic probably takes, if they're taking insulin, they're probably taking anywhere from 6 to 12 prescriptions per day. So if you think about that, that's it's a lot of medicine. And so the way it works is, I'll give you a couple examples. Let's use Crestor, which is a drug used to lower cholesterol, which is very popular. It's a name brand drug. I believe if you don't have insurance, it may retail for about, let's just say it may start out at $150. Synthroid is also a name brand drug, which is used for the thyroid, and that probably retails about the same cost. So, and then let's just use Lisinopril. Lisinopril is a blood pressure medicine. It's very popular, and it's a generic drug. So you go to fill those 3 prescriptions, and your copay for the Synthroid in the Crest store could only be, let's just say, $25 to $45, depending on the insurance company, where you're thinking that's not really a lot of money. But it retails for quadruple the amount, $150. And so when you go fill your prescription, that $150 times 2, the Synthroid in the Crest store, adds up to $300. And so that goes against the $2,960. And so if you're taking multiple brand name drugs, you could actually go over that initial coverage threshold pretty quickly. With Lisinopril, that retails, if you don't have insurance, you could probably get it over the counter for $11. So that's not expensive. A lot of prescription drug companies may only charge you $2. You may be able to catch it on sale at a retailer. Let's just say Giant Eagle, which is a local grocery store here in Ohio, in Northeast Ohio. You may get it for $2. Some insurance companies may have it as a zero copay if you get a 90-day supply. So generics aren't that expensive, so it takes a lot of generics from a cost standpoint to get over that $2,960 amount. So once you're over that amount by $1, then you move to the next coverage stage, which is the donut hole. Okay, and so what happens in the donut hole? Well, my analogy of the donut hole, I tend to call it quicksand, because when you get in it, it's very difficult to get out of it. Okay, so the way that works when you're in the donut hole is that you have to pay 45% of the cost of name brand drugs and 65% of the cost of generic drugs. So back to our earlier example with Lisinopril, it only costs $11. So I went to Catholic school. I'm not that great at math, but 65% of $11 is, I guess, is $7. So that's not that expensive. So you have to pay what's called a true out-of-pocket cost for these prescription drugs until you reach $4,700. Now, with name brand drugs, you have to pay 45% of the cost, retail cost of that name brand drug. So back to our early example with Crestor or Synthroid, if they cost $150, you have to pay almost, let's just round up to 50 to make it easy, $75. And so if you're a senior and you're on a fixed income and you're taking multiple brand name prescriptions, being in this donut hole could be very expensive. So you'll go from paying set copays to pretty much quadrupling whatever you were paying the previous months. Now, the good news is that with most insurance companies, they send you a monthly statement, so you're actually able to track how much you're spending every month on prescription drugs. And so there's 3 components that go into that. There's the cost of the drug, the actual insurance company has a portion, and then when I say the cost of the drug, I mean the pharmaceutical company. So they have to pay a portion, the insurance company pays a portion, and then you pay a portion in regards to a copay. So in the unfortunate event that you reach $4,700 in out-of-pocket costs, then you move to the next and final coverage stage, which is catastrophic coverage. And so typically what happens if you're in that stage, you've used a lot of prescription drugs for the year, and Uncle Sam or Social Security will subsidize about 90% of the cost of your drugs. So what's the moral of the story? Number one, in the event that you're taking a prescription drug that's name brand, do what's called step therapy. See if there's a generic equivalent. If the doctor prescribes you something new, make sure you check your formulary to see if the drug's in the formulary. If a drug is not in the formulary, that means you have to pay 100% of the total cost. So doctors typically don't know, they can't memorize each formulary from insurance company to one insurance company. One of my big carriers that I broker, their formulary is over 100 pages. So if they prescribe you something, they may not know it's in the formulary. So you have to double check, and so you have to make sure that you're on the same page with the doctor. And there's also multiple generics or brand name drugs that can be used for multiple pre-existing conditions. So you have to really communicate with your providers to make sure you guys are on the same page and to make sure you can maximize your savings. So also, by getting a 90-day mail order supply, you're always going to get be in a most cost-effective position. Typically, you'll get 3 months for the price of 2 months if you use mail order. So in closing, there are a few ways to manage the donut hole. If you are new to Medicare, one of the things that you can do, you can actually call Medicare, which is 1-800-MEDICARE, and if you give them a list of your prescription drugs, the dosage and the usage, they can give you a general idea of whether or not you'll be in the coverage gap. They can also give you the drug costs of various insurance companies within your service area or your zip code. As an agent, I have access to the information as well too. You can always call me at 216-644-8043, and I can give you a general idea of whether or not you may be in the coverage gap. Now, the good news is that the coverage gap, and I didn't mention this before, is that it resets every year. So a person may be approaching the coverage gap, let's just say November or December, and may not go in, or you may go in September or October, and you're in there shortly. So as a best practice, you just never want to go into the coverage gap if you don't have to. So what are some ways that seniors can do to manage that coverage gap? Well, number one, become more health conscious. Okay, by eating right, you can do that to maybe eliminate some of your prescription drugs. Now, a person has a pre-existing condition, sometimes diet does not help that, and you are required to take prescription drugs for a certain situation. Always try to get generics when possible. And also, by getting a 90-day mail order supply is going to be your most cost-effective solution. So again, you can reach me at healthproconsultants@gmail.com. I almost forgot about my new email address. I'm also at Twitter at Mark M. Green, and also that little button below, you can subscribe to my channel.